The spoken word carries within it the very essence of creation itself, operating according to immutable spiritual laws, as precise and unwavering as the law of gravity. When we examine the fundamental nature of manifestation, we discover that everything in the physical world first existed as thought, then as word, and finally as form. This progression reveals the tremendous creative power contained within human speech when it is aligned with divine truth and spoken without the contamination of fear or doubt. To speak a thing with fearless conviction is to touch the secret spring of the universe. The spoken word, backed by unwavering faith, is not a request, it is a decree. It does not plead with life. It commands the invisible to become visible. One strong, definite statement, uttered without tremor or doubt, accomplishes what 1,000 anxious repetitions cannot. The difference lies not in the syllables, but in the spirit that propels them. Words are the outer clothing of belief, and when belief is absolute, the word is clothed in authority, causing spiritual law to hasten in obedience. Most people scatter their creative power through countless contradictory statements throughout each day. They speak words of lack in the morning, abundance at noon, and limitation again by evening. This inconsistent use of the creative word creates a confused mixture in consciousness, resulting in mixed and often disappointing results in their experience. The fearful petitioner makes a sound that says, "I do not yet possess." The fearless declarer makes a sound that says, "I possess by divine right." One asks from separation, the other claims from oneness. The universe takes its instruction from the consciousness behind the words, and consciousness is revealed by the feeling with which the word is spoken. Consider how spiritual law responds to different qualities of declaration. Just as gravity does not require persuasion but acts the moment an object yields to it, so it is with the law of the spoken word. The law recognizes tone as much as text, motive as much as meaning. When you speak from fear, fear of not having enough, fear of being disappointed, fear of looking foolish, you inject these limiting vibrations into your declaration. The universe responds not only to your words, but to the emotional and mental energy behind those words. Fear acts as a contaminating force that dilutes the creative power of your words, often producing results that match the underlying fear rather than the stated desire. Doubt is a spiritual boomerang. It returns to you the very thing you fear, the non-manifestation of your good. Fear, in its essence, is a powerful form of negative prayer. It is a declaration of what you do not want, and the universe, being impersonal and responsive to the energy you emit, will dutifully bring forth the object of your fear. Therefore, a truly creative declaration must be utterly fearless. It must be spoken from a place of absolute knowing, rather than hoping, from certainty rather than wishful thinking. The power of one fearless declaration often exceeds that of thousands of anxious repetitions because of the concentrated spiritual force behind it. When you speak with absolute conviction, you gather all your creative energy into a single, focused beam of intention. This concentrated force penetrates directly into the creative realm where all manifestation begins, establishing your desired reality with crystalline clarity. Many people mistakenly believe that incessant repetition is the key to manifestation. They will repeat affirmations endlessly, but if each repetition is laced with an undercurrent of "I need this to work" or "I'm not sure if this will ever happen," they are, in fact, negating their own efforts. Repetition, born of anxiety, actually weakens your declaration because it implies doubt about the effectiveness of your previous statements. Each anxious repetition essentially cancels out the power of what came before, creating a cycle of spiritual ineffectiveness. However, repetition may serve to stabilize consciousness, provided each repetition is fresh with certainty and not a chant to drown out fear. If fear creeps in, it is wise to address it directly. I dissolve and dissipate this appearance of fear. It is a shadow without substance. I now stand in fearless faith. Then return to the clean, simple decree. An illustration clarifies this principle. A woman owed a pressing debt with no visible means to pay. She had begged, worried, and counted coins to no avail. Then she learned the art of the fearless declaration. She became still and said once, clearly and calmly, "The divine plan of my finances is now revealed." This obligation is paid in full by perfect, expected, and unexpected channels under grace. She refused to discuss the debt with anxiety. Within days, an old client, silent for months, remitted a generous fee with apologies for the delay, and a small bank error was corrected in her favor. The sum exceeded the obligation. She had not forced, she had spoken the word and allowed the law to align the channels. Another man, seeking new employment, declared, "My perfect work in a perfect way appears to me quickly, and I am divinely compensated." He stopped sending desperate messages and instead followed quiet prompts. He felt led to attend a gathering he would have overlooked. There, he met the very person who had the authority to offer him a position that matched his talents and exceeded his former salary. His fearless word tuned his inner compass, and the outer meeting became inevitable. To declare fearlessly is to speak from the mountaintop of inner certainty, not from the valley of circumstance. Appearances may shout lack, delays may parade themselves as obstacles, yet the fearless word does not waver. It acknowledges appearances as shadows and substance as spiritual. The fearless declaration is simple, direct, and final. It does not negotiate with doubt, nor does it offer explanations to fear. It states the truth and leaves the truth to do its perfect work. This understanding transforms the very nature of your speech. Instead of using words to describe your current limitations or to beg for relief from unwanted conditions, you begin using words to establish new realities in consciousness. Your declarations become acts of spiritual legislation, establishing new laws for your personal experience that the universe must honor and fulfill. When you recognize that you are not separate from the creative force, but are actually an individualized expression of it, your words carry the same creative authority that governs all manifestation. The mind will often attempt to qualify the word with how, when, and through whom. The fearless declaration excludes such interference. It states the end and entrusts the means to infinite intelligence. When a king issues a decree, he does not add an anxious plan for the postman. He knows the machinery of the realm will set itself in motion. So it is with you, when you speak from sovereignty of spirit. You are not a beggar at the gate of fate. You are a steward of spiritual law, and your word is backed by the authority of truth. A common stumbling block is the habit of declaring and then immediately denying. An individual may say, "I am abundantly supplied," and then tell a friend, "Money is so tight, nothing ever works out." The second statement uproots the first. The fearless path is consistency. Guard your lips after speaking your word. Let no idle complaint undo your decree. If called to speak of conditions, do so without drama. Everything that concerns my finances is now divinely adjusted. Refuse to lend your voice to the chorus of lack. To assist the feeling of certainty, speak as one who has already received. Use the present and the immediate. When you declare, see the doors open, feel the weight of the gold in your hand, hear the kind voice that brings good news, embody the answered prayer. The word unaccompanied by feeling is a seed tossed upon stone. The word fused with feeling is a seed planted in rich soil. The subconscious accepts images and tone with childlike obedience. Give it the feeling of completion, and it directs opportunities, ideas, and alignments to make the outer match the inner decree. The moment you declare your word with conviction, you are engaging a spiritual mechanism that is already perfect and complete. This mechanism does not require your constant anxious monitoring or your incessant questioning of how or when. Such anxious watching is, in itself, a form of doubt, implying that you do not fully trust the law to work. You do not need to keep pulling up a planted seed to check if it is growing. You trust the law of growth to produce results in proper timing. Similarly, once you have spoken your word with faith, you trust spiritual law to bring about the corresponding manifestation without need for anxious repetition or constant checking. There is power in sacred phrases that carry the vibration of authority. I cast this burden on the indwelling Christ and go free, releases strain and restores dominion. Under grace and in perfect ways, prevents harsh channels and invites beautiful ones. By divine right, seals your claim to what is yours without infringement upon another. These phrases are not superstitions, they are instruments that tune your consciousness to spiritual law. When your inner music is pure, your outer life harmonizes. This fearless declaration is not an act of ego, but an act of profound humility and trust in the divine intelligence that resides within and surrounds us. It is the recognition that the source of all good is infinite and ever-present, and that we, as channels for this good, have the right and the ability to claim our portion. When we make a fearless declaration, we are aligning ourselves with this infinite source, allowing its abundant energy to flow through us and into our experience. Always, keep the words simple. Complexity is the companion of doubt. One clean sentence, spoken once with genuine faith, is worth more than paragraphs of strained affirmation. Stand still in the authority of your truth and feel the peace that follows. That peace is evidence that your word has entered the substance of things and is even now crystallizing into form. By mastering this principle, by learning to speak your word with unshakable faith and without a trace of fear, you become the conscious architect of your destiny, bringing forth your desires not through struggle or toil, but through the simple, powerful, and fearless declaration of truth. The great ocean of divine substance is ever full and ever ready to pour forth its abundance, yet the narrowness of human consciousness and the tangles of accumulated emotional debris can reduce this mighty river to a mere trickle. Just as a gardener must meticulously clear the soil of weeds, stones, and debris before planting precious seeds, so must we prepare the sacred ground of consciousness by removing every obstruction that impedes the free flow of our divine supply. This process of consciousness clearing is not merely a mental exercise, but a profound spiritual act that transforms us from blocked channels into clear conduits through which infinite wealth can express itself with grace and ease. Understanding the nature of these inner blockages reveals why some individuals seem to effortlessly magnetize wealth, while others struggle despite their most fervent prayers and diligent efforts. The difference lies not in their external circumstances or actions, but in the clarity of their inner channels. What we hold in consciousness, we hold in experience. Every resentment is a spiritual knot that binds our good to us. Every fear-based thought is a dam that restricts the flow of abundance. Every limiting belief is an invisible ceiling that caps our receiving capacity, regardless of how earnestly we may desire something greater. Resentment stands as perhaps the most formidable obstacle to prosperity consciousness. When we harbor ill will toward any person, situation, or circumstance, we create a magnetic field that draws to us more of the very experiences we wish to escape. This operates according to precise spiritual law. What we refuse to release in our minds continues to have power over our experience. The individual who maintains anger toward a former employer unknowingly chains their financial future to that very situation they desperately wish to leave behind. The person who resents wealthy individuals while simultaneously desiring wealth creates an internal contradiction that makes lasting prosperity impossible to sustain. The mechanism of resentment functions like a spiritual boomerang. When we send forth thoughts of criticism, blame, or condemnation, these thoughts inevitably return to us carrying the very limitations we projected onto others. If we judge someone as unworthy of their success, we unconsciously program our own consciousness with unworthiness. If we criticize another's financial choices, we create confusion and conflict in our own relationship with money. The universe, being impersonal in its operations, simply reflects back to us the quality of thought we consistently maintain, without judgment or favoritism. Fear-based thinking creates another significant blockage in the channel of supply. Fear manifests in countless forms: fear of not having enough, fear of losing what we have, fear of being judged for our desires, fear of the responsibility that comes with wealth, or fear that we are somehow undeserving of abundance. Each fear acts like a spiritual anchor, holding us in patterns of limitation, regardless of our conscious desires for expansion and increase. Fear-based thinking is particularly insidious because it often masquerades as wisdom or prudence, convincing us that our limitations represent realistic assessments rather than self-imposed restrictions. When we operate from fear consciousness, we unconsciously attract experiences that validate our fears. The person who fears poverty often makes decisions from scarcity consciousness, choosing the safe but limited path over opportunities for expansion. They may hoard rather than circulate, work from desperation rather than inspiration, or settle for less than their true worth because they fear losing even that small amount. This fear-based approach to life creates a vibrational frequency that repels abundance while magnetizing exactly the circumstances they most wish to avoid. Limiting beliefs represent perhaps the most deeply rooted obstacles to financial freedom. These beliefs often form in early childhood and become so fundamental to our worldview that we rarely question their validity. Common limiting beliefs include the notion that money is scarce, that wealth requires sacrifice of integrity or relationships, that financial success is reserved for others, who are somehow more deserving, or that spiritual people should not desire material abundance. These beliefs operate like invisible programming, automatically filtering our perceptions and guiding our choices in ways that perpetuate the very limitations we claim to want to overcome. Forgiveness emerges as the master key to consciousness clearing. True forgiveness is not about condoning harmful behavior or pretending that painful experiences never occurred. Rather, it is a conscious release of our mental and emotional attachment to these experiences, so they no longer have power over our present moment or future possibilities. When we forgive, we cut the cord that binds us to the past and reclaim the creative energy that was locked up in maintaining grievances. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the assertion of spiritual dominion. It declares, "I refuse to let this thought live rent-free in my consciousness. I claim my mind for wealth, peace, and right action." The practice of peace, forgiveness must be thorough and complete. It includes forgiving others for their perceived wrongs, forgiving ourselves for our mistakes and limitations, and perhaps most importantly, forgiving life itself for not meeting our expectations. Many people harbor unconscious resentment toward existence for being difficult, unfair, or disappointing. This fundamental resistance to life as it is creates a state of chronic spiritual tension that blocks the flow of all good, including financial abundance. We must speak quietly but firmly. I fully and freely forgive. I loose and let go. I see everyone and everything free, and I am free. Non-resistance represents the positive aspect of consciousness clearing. While forgiveness removes the obstacles, non-resistance creates a state of receptivity that allows good to flow freely into our experience. Non-resistance is not passive acceptance of unwanted conditions. Rather, it means releasing our mental and emotional struggle against what is, so we can clearly perceive the opportunities for positive change that are always available to us. When we practice non-resistance, we stop wasting our creative energy in futile battles against circumstances and instead direct that energy toward manifesting our desires. To resist a condition is to feed it with our attention and emotional energy. What we fight, we fasten to our consciousness. What we bless, we release. Non-resistance does not mean ignoring right action or becoming passive in the face of challenges. It means we refuse to wrestle with appearances while we speak the higher word and allow spiritual law to make the necessary adjustments. If delay appears in our financial affairs, we do not lash the waters with anxiety and impatience. Instead, we declare, "Divine timing is working now. I am in the right place at the right time, receiving what is mine by divine right. A profound shift occurs when we learn to hold our desires with open hands rather than clenched fists. This does not mean becoming indifferent to our goals, but rather maintaining a state of joyful expectancy while remaining flexible about the methods of manifestation. When we release our grip on how our good must appear, we create space for the universe to surprise us with solutions far beyond our limited human imagination. Many resist their good by insisting it must come through particular channels or in specific forms, unknowingly blocking the infinite ways the universe might choose to deliver their desired abundance. The law of the vacuum serves as a reliable ally in consciousness clearing. To invite new supply, we must make room by releasing what no longer serves us. This includes completing unfinished tasks, giving away items we no longer use, returning what we have borrowed, and clearing physical and mental clutter. Each completed action breaks a small spell of stagnation. The universe abhors a vacuum. Create one, and the tide of good naturally rises to fill it. This is not superstition, but spiritual alignment. When our outer affairs show order and circulation, our inner life mirrors this harmony, and opportunities arrive that match the cleared space. Consciousness clearing also requires purifying our relationship with money itself. Many people unconsciously resist wealth by criticizing those who have it, speaking of dirty money, or secretly fearing judgment if they prosper. This double-mindedness shuts the gate to abundance. We cannot draw what we secretly scorn. Therefore, we must bless money as divine substance, a servant of good, an instrument for joy and just exchange. When a bill arrives, we do not groan as if a thief had approached our door. Instead, we bless the bill and the creditor. I pay this in love and under grace. Money returns to me multiplied. The practice of casting burdens provides immediate relief from the weight of financial worry. Every anxious thought, every puzzled problem, each weight of concern is a burden we need not carry. We can say with authority, I cast this burden on the indwelling Christ, and I go free. In that moment of release, we feel the mental weight drop from our shoulders, and divine intelligence can accomplish what our strain and struggle could not. Many have discovered that the very hour they released a financial problem, a new idea, a helpful person, or a long-delayed solution appeared. Guarding our speech becomes essential in maintaining clear consciousness. Common sayings become common experiences in our lives. We must trade nothing ever works out, for everything is divinely adjusted now. We replace money is hard to come by with divine supply is effortless and immediate. Words are not bandages for worry. They are instruments of spiritual law. If we must speak of a difficulty, we speak of it as already dissolving. This appearance is being handled under grace in perfect ways. The clearing of consciousness often involves releasing secret vows of poverty, family stories, inherited beliefs, or misguided desires to appear virtuous through lack. These unseen vows bind our good like invisible threads. We cut them with the sword of the word. I now dissolve every belief in lack, loss, and sacrifice. I serve through abundance, not through deprivation. I accept my lavish good under grace. It is a grave error to imagine that struggle sanctifies or that poverty demonstrates virtue. Right use of wealth blesses many, and our prosperity becomes a silent sermon of divine provision. Cultivating gratitude serves as a powerful magnet for increased good. When we focus on appreciating what we already have, we shift our vibrational frequency from lack to abundance. This shift creates an actual change in our magnetic field, attracting more experiences that match the frequency of gratitude and appreciation. Gratitude also helps dissolve resentment and fear by directing our attention toward the positive aspects of our current experience, no matter how limited they may appear. The practice of benign indifference to the how and when of manifestation allows divine intelligence to choose the perfect channels for our supply. We decide the end but release the means. Money may come through work, gifts, refunds, ideas, investments, clients, sales, or entirely unexpected avenues. If we become rigid, insisting on one particular channel, we block the 99 others that stand ready to serve us. The river does not argue with rocks. It flows around them, always finding the path of least resistance to its destination. Consciousness clearing is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process of spiritual hygiene. Just as we regularly cleanse our physical bodies, we must consistently cleanse our mental and emotional bodies of accumulated negativity. This requires developing the habit of monitoring our thoughts and feelings, gently redirecting them when they drift toward limitation, fear, or resentment. We choose to see good where others see problems, to find opportunities where others see obstacles, and to maintain faith in abundance even when appearances suggest scarcity. As our consciousness becomes clearer, we begin to notice subtle changes in our external experience. Opportunities that were invisible before suddenly become apparent. People who can help us seem to appear at precisely the right moments. Solutions to financial challenges present themselves with surprising ease. These are not coincidences, but natural results of clearing the inner channels through which abundance flows. The cleared consciousness becomes like a pristine window through which the light of prosperity can shine unobstructed, creating wealth, not through struggle and strain, but through perfect alignment with the natural flow of universal abundance. There exists behind all appearances of limitation and scarcity an inexhaustible reservoir of divine substance, forever full, forever responsive, and forever governed by spiritual law. This infinite supply is not subject to the fluctuations of human opinion, economic conditions, or worldly circumstances. It operates according to principles as reliable and unchanging as the law of gravity, responding not to external conditions, but to the recognition and consciousness of those who understand its nature. To truly comprehend this principle is to shift from a life of anxious dependence upon human sources to one of serene reliance upon the inexhaustible abundance of divine intelligence. Most individuals live under the devastating illusion that their supply comes from external sources, their employer, their investments, their family connections, or their business ventures. This fundamental misunderstanding creates a state of chronic anxiety and vulnerability, for human sources are inherently unreliable and subject to change without notice. The person who believes their job is their source lives in perpetual fear of layoffs and economic downturns. The individual who looks to investments as their source remains at the mercy of market fluctuations, and financial uncertainty. However, when we recognize that our true source is the infinite intelligence that created and sustains all life, we discover a supply that cannot be diminished by external circumstances or human decisions. Consider the profound difference between spiritual law and economic law. Economic law recognizes scarcity, competition, and limitation as fundamental realities. It suggests that resources are finite, that for one person to have more another must have less, and that prosperity depends upon favorable external conditions. Spiritual law, however, operates from an entirely different premise. It recognizes abundance as the fundamental nature of the universe, sees no competition because supply is inexhaustible, and understands that prosperity flows from consciousness rather than conditions. While economic law fears recession and market crashes, spiritual law remains unaffected by these temporal fluctuations because it draws from a source that exists beyond the realm of human opinion and collective fear. The substance from which all wealth is formed is spiritual in nature, not material. Money, property, and all forms of material abundance are simply condensed spiritual substance that has taken physical form through the operation of consciousness. This spiritual substance is everywhere present, inexhaustible, and responsive to our recognition and acceptance of it. Just as the sun endlessly pours forth light and warmth without depletion, and the earth continuously yields its fruits without exhaustion, So does this divine source emanate an infinite supply of everything necessary for human well-being and fulfillment. When we understand this truth, we realize that lack is impossible in a universe filled with infinite substance. What appears as scarcity is merely the result of consciousness that has not yet learned to recognize and appropriate the abundance that surrounds it on every side. A successful merchant once shared his secret during a particularly challenging economic period, when his competitors were reducing staff and shortening hours. Each morning before opening his establishment, he would declare, "Infinite intelligence is my instant, constant, abundant supply. Perfect customers, perfect sales, perfect payments flow to me now under grace." He blessed rival businesses with prosperity and refused to participate in conversations about economic hardship. While others spoke of drought, he spoke of rain. His shop became a beacon of activity, regular customers brought friends, new product lines succeeded beyond expectation, and wholesale orders arrived from distant locations he had never contacted. He had not discovered some business trick. He had aligned himself with spiritual law and allowed it to work through his affairs with mathematical precision. This recognition of infinite supply operates through the principle of consciousness rather than conditions. Two people can exist in identical, external situations yet experience vastly different levels of prosperity, based solely on their inner recognition of abundance or limitation. The universe responds to each according to their dominant mental and emotional state, proving that supply flows from within, outward, not from without, inward. Our external circumstances do not determine our supply. Rather, our consciousness determines both our circumstances and our supply. This explains why some individuals can lose great fortunes and rebuild them quickly, while others remain trapped in poverty despite favorable external conditions. The law of supply functions with perfect precision, but it requires proper recognition to operate effectively in our experience. Just as a radio receives signals more clearly when properly tuned to the desired frequency, consciousness receives abundance more readily when properly aligned with the frequency of infinite supply. This alignment involves releasing all beliefs in limitation, scarcity, and competition, while maintaining a steady recognition of the inexhaustible nature of divine substance. When we speak from this recognition, declaring, "All that is mine by divine right now comes to me immediate, lavish, and secure," the law moves with precision to match our decree. Understanding this principle liberates us from the anxiety of competition and the fear of others' success. When supply is perceived as limited, competition becomes inevitable, breeding fear, jealousy, and desperate struggle for resources. However, when we recognize that our supply comes from an inexhaustible source, we understand that one person's gain does not diminish our own. There is no finite pie to be divided among many hungry people, but rather an ever-expanding banquet to which more seats are added as more guests arrive. We can celebrate the prosperity of others, knowing that their abundance proves the law's operation and provides inspiration for our own manifestation rather than evidence of our limitations. The infinite nature of supply also means that our prosperity cannot be permanently blocked by external forces. While temporary delays or redirections may occur as part of divine timing or for our highest good, no person, situation, or condition can permanently cut off our access to infinite supply. This supply flows from the source of all life itself and cannot be controlled or manipulated by human will or circumstances. When one channel closes, infinite intelligence immediately begins opening new channels that are often better suited to our current needs and consciousness level. A woman once found herself overwhelmed by debt with no visible means of payment. She had worried, calculated, and struggled to no avail. Then she learned to work with spiritual law rather than against it. She became still and declared once, with quiet authority, "I cast this burden on the indwelling Christ, and I go free to receive my abundant supply. All that concerns my finances is now divinely adjusted." She refuse to rehearse her difficulties, or engage in anxious conversations about money. Following inner guidance, she returned unused items that had been stored away, cleared her workspace, and forgave an old grievance that had been troubling her mind. Within a short time, a billing error was corrected in her favor. A delayed payment she had forgotten arrived with interest, and a friend requested her services for an event, paying generously in advance. The total amount exceeded her debt and left a comfortable remainder for savings. The law had been free to work because she had ceased binding it with fear and anxiety. The law of supply operates through circulation, not accumulation. Just as a river maintains its vitality through constant flow, our supply remains abundant through generous circulation rather than fearful hoarding. The individual who attempts to hoard wealth out of fear of future scarcity actually creates the very condition they fear by stopping the natural flow of abundance through their experience. Money loves order, appreciation, and movement. When we treat it as divine substance and allow it to circulate freely through wise giving and grateful receiving, it returns to us multiplied according to spiritual law. Practical recognition of infinite supply requires purifying our language and thoughts about money and abundance. We must refuse to say, "I can't afford," for that phrase engraves a law of denial upon both conscious and subconscious mind. Instead, we declare, "I choose wisely, my supply is endless, my channels are many, and money comes to me now for every need." A bill does not represent depletion but circulation. Each time we meet an obligation under grace, we affirm wealth's outward flow and invite its multiplied return. We speak of our affairs not as they appear, but as they truly are in divine mind. Everything that concerns my finances is now divinely adjusted quickly and under grace. The timing of supply manifestation operates according to Deventer. The timing of supply manifestation operates divine wisdom rather than human impatience. This divine timing ensures that our good appears at precisely the moment when we are prepared to receive and properly use it. What may appear as delay is often divine preparation, allowing circumstances to align perfectly for our greatest benefit. The person who demands immediate manifestation according to their personal timeline may actually interfere with the law's perfect operation. Just as a farmer does not dig up seeds to check their progress but trusts the law of growth to produce the harvest in proper season, we must allow spiritual law to manifest our supply according to its perfect wisdom and timing. To strengthen our recognition of infinite supply, we must cease appointing any person or condition as our source. No employer, spouse, client, or investment is our source. They are honored channels through which infinite intelligence expresses our good, to be appreciated but not worshipped or feared. When we cling to a particular channel, we confess a belief in limitation and invite disappointment. When we bless all channels while holding them lightly, we honor the infinite supply behind them and allow perfect expansion. We learn to say, "This or something better now manifests for me under grace," thus keeping our good free to come through the most perfect avenue. The recognition of infinite, lawful supply also requires maintaining evidence of its operation in our experience. We keep a mental record of fulfilled needs, swift adjustments, and unexpected channels, not to cling to the past, but to fortify present faith. The mind readily catalogs disappointments. We must retrain it to catalog provisions and demonstrations of supply. Each memory becomes a foundation stone for future manifestations, and new needs cross more swiftly on such a bridge of established faith. This understanding transforms our prayers from begging and pleading to claiming and receiving. Instead of asking the universe to give us what we need, we acknowledge what is already ours by divine right and open ourselves to receive it. We declare, "I do not limit the channels. I welcome the miraculous and the ordinary, the quick and the continuous, the expected and the unexpected, under grace and in perfect ways." This shift in approach dramatically accelerates manifestation because it aligns us with the law's natural operation rather than working against it through the laws. Doubt and desperation. When we truly internalize this recognition that our supply comes from an inexhaustible, divine source that operates according to spiritual law, independent of external conditions, a profound sense of peace and security settles within us. The anxiety of, where will it come from, dissolves, replaced by the calm assurance that it is already here, and it is flowing to me now. This inner shift in consciousness becomes the foundation from which all outer wealth springs, transforming us from anxious seekers of supply into serene channels, through which infinite abundance expresses itself in ever-increasing measure. The moment you establish this recognition as the ruling state of your consciousness, you cease begging life to sustain you and begin allowing divine law to deliver your good through perfect, delightful, and often unexpected ways. You become not a victim of circumstances, but a conscious cooperator with the infinite intelligence that governs all supply, drawing from a source that knows no depletion, no competition, and no limitation, only the endless, lawful expression of divine abundance, seeking perfect channels through which to bless the world. In the realm of spiritual law, gratitude operates as one of the most powerful magnetic forces available to human consciousness, functioning with the precision of a divine tuning fork that aligns us with the frequency of infinite abundance. This is not mere positive thinking or polite social courtesy, but a fundamental spiritual principle as reliable and unchanging as the law of gravity itself. When we understand gratitude as the high song of the soul that calls our good out of the invisible into the visible, we discover that heartfelt thanksgiving expressed before manifestation becomes faith made audible, creating an irresistible magnetic pull that compels the universe to deliver corresponding experiences with mathematical precision. The transformative power of gratitude lies in its ability to shift our vibrational frequency from lack to abundance instantaneously. Every emotion carries a specific energetic signature that attracts experiences of a similar nature, and gratitude vibrates at one of the highest frequencies available to human consciousness. When we express genuine appreciation, we emit a powerful signal of possession and fulfillment that the universe, being an impersonal mirror, reflects back to us through corresponding experiences. Most individuals reverse this divine order, waiting until after they receive their good before expressing appreciation. This approach reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how spiritual law operates, for the universe responds to the initial act of faith, to the consciousness of already possessing, rather than the consciousness of still needing. Preemptive gratitude, thanksgiving, expressed before physical manifestation, demonstrates absolute faith in the law's reliability and creates the precise vibrational match necessary for receiving. When we give thanks for what we have not yet seen with physical eyes, we acknowledge its existence in the invisible realm where all manifestation originates and invite it to crystallize into form. The subconscious mind, which is the seat of all creative power and directly connected to universal intelligence, responds with absolute obedience to our dominant thoughts and feelings. When we fill our consciousness with heartfelt gratitude for a particular outcome, the subconscious accepts this feeling as an accomplished fact and begins arranging circumstances, inspiring actions, and opening doors that will bring that desired outcome into physical experience. Consider the profound difference between a prayer of begging and a declaration of thanksgiving. A prayer that pleads, "Please give me money, I have so little," comes from a consciousness of lack and reinforces the very condition it seeks to escape. However, a declaration of gratitude, such as, "I give thanks for the immediate, lavish supply of money that now pours into my life from expected and unexpected sources," comes from a consciousness of abundance and acknowledges the divine law of supply as presently operating. This declaration, infused with genuine gratitude, taps into the inexhaustible source and opens the channels for its flow with remarkable efficiency. The law of increase answers the one who praises with unwavering consistency. Whatever we bless expands, and what we criticize contracts according to precise spiritual mechanics. When we bless the money in our hand, it multiplies through increased opportunities and circulation. When we condemn it as never enough, we shrink its channels through the magnetic attraction of scarcity consciousness. Many unknowingly practice the law of decrease by speaking thankless words over their affairs, complaining about prices, grumbling over bills, resenting others' success, and rehearsing stories of loss. These are unconscious decrees of reduction that the universe dutifully fulfills. The grateful heart reverses this destructive tide with a single, steady note of praise. I give thanks that divine supply is now pouring through rich channels. I bless this bill, this ledger, this work, and I see all paid in full under grace. A remarkable illustration of this principle occurred when a woman found herself facing a rent deadline with insufficient funds and no visible source of income. Instead of focusing on her lack, she placed her hand over the lease and declared quietly but with authority, "I give thanks that this rent is paid in full, expected and unexpected channels are opened, and everyone involved is blessed under grace." She refused to rehearse her difficulties or engage in anxious conversations about money. She blessed the roof above her, the floor beneath her, and the neighbors around her, maintaining an atmosphere of grateful expectation. Within 48 hours, a delayed refund posted to her account, an old client requested immediate work for generous pay, and her landlord reduced a fee in exchange for a simple task she enjoyed performing. The total amount exceeded her obligation and left a comfortable remainder for savings. Gratitude had loosened the knots of delay and ushered in divine adjustment through perfect channels. Gratitude transforms the very atmosphere around our affairs, acting as a spiritual perfume that draws opportunities as flowers draw bees. An atmosphere of complaint repels assistance because it signals belief in disfavor and disorder, while thanksgiving signals alignment with divine order and favor. People unconsciously feel this invisible welcome and respond accordingly. The shopkeeper who blesses his inventory with genuine appreciation sees swift turnover because customers sense the positive energy surrounding the merchandise. The artist who praises her gifts with heartfelt gratitude finds receptive patrons appearing as if by magic. The student who gives thanks for perfect recall discovers answers waiting at the top of every page, for the grateful consciousness has magnetized the very knowledge needed. This magnetic force operates through what might be understood as circulation in words. Money loves movement, and so do ideas and opportunities. To say, "Thank you for what we have and for what is on its way," opens the gates for an ever greater current of good to flow through our experience. The individual who attempts to hoard wealth out of fear cannot genuinely praise, for fear clutches language as tightly as it clutches coins. However, when we open our mouth in thanksgiving, our hand opens naturally, and the law responds with increase because we have become a clear channel rather than a blocked reservoir. Each paid bill becomes a bell of prosperity when we ring it with praise. I am grateful this is paid. I bless the company, the service, and the hands that worked to bring it. This money returns to me multiplied, under grace. The practice of grateful visualization amplifies gratitude's magnetic properties exponentially. When we combine heartfelt appreciation with clear mental images of our desired good, we create a powerful vibrational signal that the universe cannot ignore. Seeing ourselves already in possession of our good while feeling genuine gratitude for its manifestation creates the perfect magnetic storm that draws our desires into physical reality with remarkable speed. This is not fantasy but spiritual science, the conscious use of imagination and emotion to create the vibrational match for our TPA, intended manifestation. A successful businessman discovered what he called the gratitude advantage and attributed his remarkable prosperity to this daily practice. Each morning before checking financial statements or reviewing business concerns, he spent time expressing heartfelt appreciation for the abundance flowing through his enterprise. He thanked his customers for their loyalty, his employees for their dedication, his suppliers for their service, and the universe for the endless opportunities presenting themselves to him. He felt genuine appreciation for the money circulating through his business, the ideas flowing to him, and the expansion occurring in all areas of his work. This daily practice created such a powerful magnetic field around his enterprise that customers frequently commented on the positive atmosphere they felt when entering his establishment. Referrals flowed naturally, new opportunities appeared regularly, and financial challenges resolved themselves with surprising ease. Gratitude serves as a powerful dissolvent for the toxic emotions that block our good. Resentment, fear, anger, and worry all create vibrational barriers that repel abundance, but gratitude dissolves these negative states instantly. It is impossible to feel genuinely grateful and resentful simultaneously, or to maintain fear while experiencing authentic appreciation. When limiting thoughts arise about money or circumstances, we can immediately shift to appreciation. I give thanks that divine intelligence is handling this situation perfectly. I release all anxiety and trust the law to bring swift, satisfying solutions under grace. The magnetic force of gratitude extends beyond individual manifestation to influence our entire environment and relationships. When we consistently maintain appreciation for the good in our lives, we become a blessing to everyone around us. People are naturally drawn to grateful individuals because their positive energy feels good and inspires hope. This magnetic quality attracts helpful people, beneficial relationships, and collaborative opportunities that would never appear to someone operating from complaint or criticism. Gratitude makes us irresistible to good because it signals to the universe that we are excellent stewards of abundance, ready to receive and properly appreciate whatever is given to us. To maximize gratitude's magnetic effect, we must encompass both large and small blessings in our appreciation. While it is natural to feel grateful for major demonstrations of abundance, the person who appreciates small gifts, unexpected kindnesses, and minor conveniences creates a consciousness that magnetizes increasingly greater good. The individual who thanks the universe for finding a convenient parking space prepares their consciousness to receive larger conveniences. The person who appreciates a small unexpected refund aligns themselves to receive larger unexpected windfalls. Each expression of genuine appreciation not only attracts corresponding good, but also increases our capacity for appreciation, which in turn increases our magnetic power, creating an upward spiral of abundance that becomes self-perpetuating. Perhaps the most advanced form of gratitude involves extending appreciation to challenges and apparent setbacks. When faced with an obstacle or what appears to be a closed door, instead of despairing, we can declare with authority, I give thanks that this apparent obstacle is merely divine redirection, leading me to an even greater good and a more perfect path. This profound trust, born of gratitude, allows divine intelligence to work through the situation, often revealing solutions and opportunities that would have been entirely missed had we succumbed to fear and complaint. The practice of maintaining a gratitude ledger can transform our financial life through consistent recognition of supplies operation. Each day, we record what came in money, value, favor, ideas, and give thanks in writing. We note what went out and bless its right use, tallying the proofs of provision. This is not mere bookkeeping, but spiritual accounting that trains the mind to expect increase because it has seen increase. The mind that loves to calculate deficits learns instead to calculate demonstrations, and expectation becomes a powerful magnet, drawing more good into our experience. Gratitude purifies our speech and transforms our relationship with money itself. We must banish the phrases that sabotage supply. I can't afford. Money slips through my fingers. Nothing ever changes. These are thankless spells that bind us to limitation. Instead, we replace them with praise. I give thanks that I always have more than enough for every good purpose. Money comes easily and often, under grace. When we express gratitude for money as crystallized divine substance, as a servant of good and an instrument of blessing, we align ourselves vibrationally with its free flow into our experience. Above all, gratitude must be our first response to every situation. Before the plan, before the call, before any reaction to circumstances, we say, "Thank you." This simple practice gathers scattered energies and sets them in divine order. Thank you is a straight road where winding paths once ran, the silver rain calling to the cloud, the seed calling to the sun, the harbor light calling to the ship. When we say it once with genuine power and then walk as one who has already received, we demonstrate the ultimate recognition that gratitude is not merely a response to good, but the very cause of good, the magnetic force that draws all abundance from the invisible storehouse of infinite supply into our grateful, expectant, and abundantly blessed experience. The infinite intelligence that governs the universe operates according to a timing so exquisite and through channels so perfectly orchestrated that human understanding can scarcely comprehend its magnificent precision. When we speak our word with faith and then attempt to dictate to the universe precisely how and when our good should manifest, we commit a fundamental error that blocks the very demonstration we seek to accelerate. Divine timing is not delay. It is the perfect coordination of all elements necessary to bring forth our good in the most harmonious, beneficial, and lasting manner possible. To interfere with this process through anxious watching and human outlining is like a gardener who plants a precious seed and then digs it up daily to check its progress, thereby preventing the very growth he desperately desires to see. Outlining stands as the great thief of demonstrations, robbing us of the superior methods that divine intelligence would gladly employ on our behalf. When we insist that our supply must come through this particular person, that specific job, or this one investment opportunity, we essentially tie the hands of infinite wisdom and force it to work through a long, single, often resistant channel when countless other pathways stand ready to serve us with greater ease and abundance. This limitation stems from our human tendency to trust only what we can see and understand, forgetting that the universe has access to information, connections, and possibilities far beyond our present awareness. Consider the profound difference between human planning and divine orchestration. Human planning operates from limited information, past experience, and present circumstances, often missing opportunities that lie entirely outside our current field of vision. We plan based on what we know, but divine intelligence plans based on what it knows, which encompasses all possibilities across all time and space. It understands the perfect interconnection of every event, every person, and every circumstance, knowing which doors must open first, which people need preparation, and which conditions must align before our good can manifest in its most perfect form. A man once struggled desperately to secure financing for his business venture from a particular bank that he had convinced himself was his only viable option. He prepared elaborate documents, made countless calls, and grew increasingly tense as he met only walls of resistance. Finally, exhausted by the struggle, he declared, "I release this channel if it is not mine by divine right. My capital now appears through perfect avenues, under grace." He stopped pressing and began following quiet inner promptings, attending a luncheon he would normally have declined, speaking kindly to a stranger about his work, sending one thoughtful note without expectation of return. Within a week, an investor introduced by the luncheon stranger offered terms far more generous than the bank had ever considered. What he had interpreted as delay had been divine timing. What he had experienced as rejection had been protection. What he had dismissed as coincidence had been perfectly ordered steps. Divine intelligence possesses the remarkable ability to coordinate multiple factors simultaneously, ensuring that every manifestation serves not only our individual good, but contributes to the harmony and benefit of all involved parties. While we focus on our single desire, the universe orchestrates a symphony of circumstances that benefits everyone touched by our demonstration. This is why divine timing often appears slow to our impatient human perspective. It is not slow, but thorough, ensuring that when our good arrives, it comes with permanence, joy, and blessing for all concerned. What appears to us as a delay is frequently a period of intensive preparation and alignment occurring in the invisible realm. During this time, the universe is arranging circumstances, inspiring the right people, dissolving obstacles, and preparing us to receive our good in the most beneficial way possible. Sometimes this preparation involves developing our own consciousness to match the magnitude of what we have requested. If wealth were to manifest before we had released limiting beliefs about money or cultivated gratitude and wise stewardship, it might become a burden rather than a blessing. Divine timing ensures that our outer manifestation perfectly aligns with our inner readiness, making the receiving experience joyful and sustainable. The habit of anxious watching creates one of the most significant obstacles to swift manifestation. When we constantly monitor our affairs with worried attention, checking and rechecking for signs of progress, we emit a vibrational frequency of doubt and impatience that actually interferes with the law's smooth operation. This anxious supervision implies that we do not fully trust the law to work without our constant oversight, and our doubt becomes a form of spiritual static that muddles the clear signal we initially transmitted through our declaration. Just as a farmer does not excavate planted seeds every day to examine their progress but trusts the law of growth to produce results in proper season, we must allow spiritual law to work without our nervous interference. The seed knows how to become the flower, the law knows how to become the demonstration. Our role is to plant the seed through our spoken word, water it with faith and gratitude, and then allow the natural process of growth to unfold according to its own perfect timing. A woman seeking new employment had applied to numerous positions that appeared to match her qualifications perfectly, yet each application resulted in rejection or silence. As her financial situation grew more pressing, her anxiety increased, and she found herself checking emails obsessively and calling potential employers with increasing desperation. Finally, recognizing that her anxious energy was sabotaging her efforts, she declared, "I cast this burden on the indwelling Christ and go free. My perfect work appears now through perfect channels under grace." Within days of this surrender, she received an unexpected call about a position she had never applied for. A company had received her name through such an unusual chain of referrals that it seemed orchestrated by invisible hands. The position offered superior compensation, required skills she possessed but had never thought to market, and placed her in an environment perfectly suited to her temperament and values. Perfect channels bear unmistakable signs that distinguish them from forced or inappropriate pathways. Right channels flow with natural ease, accompanied by a sense of inner peace that overrides mental chatter, a feeling of fitness and rightness, joyful efficiency in all dealings, mutual blessing for all parties involved, and doors that open without strain or struggle. When we encounter heaviness, confusion, repeated obstruction, or the need for constant pressure to maintain momentum, these are often merciful signals that we are attempting to force a channel that is not appointed for our good. The universe delights in delivering our good through channels that surprise and delight us, often in ways that exceed our original expectations. These perfect channels frequently appear as unexpected opportunities, chance encounters that prove to be divine appointments, sudden inspirations that lead to profitable ventures, or gifts from entirely unforeseen sources. What we might dismiss as coincidence is actually the precise operation of spiritual law, working through the most elegant and efficient pathways available. An artist had convinced herself that representation by one particular prestigious gallery was essential for her success. When the gallery declined her work, she felt devastated until she remembered to declare, "I do not limit the channels. This or something better now manifests for me under grace." She blessed the gallery and continued creating. Months later, a museum curator visiting a friend's studio noticed one of her pieces and requested to see more. The museum shop placed a substantial order. Sales exceeded her wildest expectations, and a feature article in a national publication followed. The original gallery would have restricted her range and limited her exposure. The chosen channel expanded both her reach and her income far beyond what she had originally envisioned. True surrender does not mean abandoning our desires or becoming indifferent to outcomes. Rather, it means holding our desires with open hands, maintaining clear intention while remaining flexible about methods and timing. We can be passionate about our goals while remaining detached from the specific ways they manifest. This balance creates optimal conditions for manifestation. Strong intention combined with non-resistance, clear vision coupled with surrender of control. The practice of casting burdens provides immediate relief from the weight of anxious concern while creating space for divine intelligence to work. When we declare, "I cast this burden on the indwelling Christ and I go free," we literally feel the mental and emotional weight lift from our consciousness, and in that moment of release, solutions that were blocked by our anxiety can suddenly flow through. Many have discovered that the very hour they released a financial problem to divine intelligence, a new idea appeared, a helpful person made contact, or a long-delayed solution materialized with surprising ease. To maintain this state of surrender, we must guard our speech carefully, refusing to rehearse difficulties or engage in conversations that reinforce limitation. Instead of saying nothing ever works out, or I've been waiting forever, we declare, everything concerning this matter is moving now in divine order. Perfect channels are opening, perfect timing is unfolding. Our words become the rails upon which our demonstration travels straight to its destination. Perfect channels often reveal themselves through what appear to be ordinary encounters or seemingly unrelated events. A casual conversation at a social gathering leads to a business opportunity. A delayed flight creates an encounter with someone who holds the key to our next step. A wrong number results in a valuable connection. These apparently random events are actually the precise orchestration of divine intelligence working through the infinite web of human relationships and circumstances. When we remain alert and responsive to such opportunities, blessing them as divine appointments rather than dismissing them as mere coincidences, we cooperate with the universe's perfect delivery system. The key is maintaining a state of relaxed awareness, neither grasping desperately at every possibility, nor remaining so rigid in our expectations that we miss the perfect channel when it appears in unexpected form. The ultimate demonstration of trust in divine timing is the ability to remain peaceful and confident even when appearances suggest delay or difficulty. This inner peace becomes a powerful magnet for accelerated manifestation because it signals complete faith in the law's operation. Peace is the evidence of faith, and faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not yet seen. During periods of apparent delay, we can declare with authority, "I am on time with divine time. My good is punctual and cannot be late. If this door is mine, it remains open. If not, it closes, and a better door opens quickly." We use these intervals profitably by blessing our present circumstances, maintaining our affairs in order, following inner guidance, and keeping our declarations fresh with renewed faith and gratitude. The person who has mastered this principle lives in a state of relaxed expectancy, knowing that their good is always approaching and will arrive at precisely the right moment through precisely the right channels. They take inspired action when guided, but do not force outcomes through anxious effort. They remain alert to opportunities, but do not grasp desperately at every possibility. They maintain clear intentions but hold them lightly, allowing divine intelligence to exceed their expectations through methods they could never have imagined and timing more perfect than they could ever have planned. Remember always that divine timing answers the declaration of faith with appointments of favor in the visible world. Your task is to keep your appointment with faith, so that you may keep your appointment with favor. Rise each day declaring, "I am in step with divine order. I meet the right people at the right time. The right doors open effortlessly. Perfect timing is operating now, and I trust the infinite wisdom that knows the perfect moment and the perfect method for delivering my abundant good under grace and in ways that exceed my highest expectations.